My name's Christine Murphy. I'm one of the co-owners of the Clean Water Company. My passion is bringing clean water to families across America. That really started for me when I had my other two kids. I have 3 kids total. I started looking at my own health. Now 3 children that I'm responsible for. That was really important for me because I had family members that weren't well, getting older. That became very apparent to me that I wanted to be as healthy as I could for my kids. I also wanted to make sure that my kids were healthy. In today's society, it's very heavily pushed on mothers and fathers that are doing mother's job to have your kids as healthy as possible. Vitamin companies are making a killing and everything's organic, everything's non-GMO. You pay extra money to buy these things for your kids because that's what's important. I've stepped into that realm of health, wanting to, number one, get myself healthy for them, and then also make sure that they were healthy as well. So that's how I started looking into the water. It was kind of a perfect storm. I was looking into the health and we were buying, better meat and buying organic apples and doing all of these things for the kids, getting them the very expensive hot dogs instead of the ballpark franks. But at the same time, we had been getting notices from the city that they were cleaning the water and they were upping the chemicals to clean the water. That was the first time that I had ever received a notice like that, and I was confused. What are they talking about? I had no idea the water was even cleaned. I thought it just existed, which is very naive, right? But that's what I was aware of. I got the notice and then I got another notice. I've never had hair problems in my entire life. I started to have hair problems. So of course I do the normal thing that women do. I changed my shampoo, changed the conditioner, went and got hair treatments, went to the salon and asked them. I think I went through probably 8 or 9 different shampoo and conditioner brands, bought the most expensive, bought the least expensive, bought the stuff for oily hair, bought the stuff for dry hair. There's so many products and it's a little bit overwhelming. Then my hair stopped growing. Then it was kind of falling out, but it was kind of greasy, but it was really dry and nothing made sense. I actually spent some money and went and got blood testing to make sure nothing was wrong with me. I thought maybe I'm just getting old. So I asked some older women, hey, is something going on with your hair? Like, is this a normal thing? And they're like, what are you talking about? So I just had no clue. It went on and on and on to the point where people started noticing how bad my hair looked, which was very embarrassing. I went to a home that had a water system in it. Within about 3 showers, my hair was back to normal. And that's when I finally realized it's the water. So that's really what got me into, okay, we need a solution because my hair is ruined. And that's not okay. That's important for a woman to have nice hair. Even if you don't always style it or you have it up in a mom bun or whatever, it's still important that it doesn't look like you haven't showered in 10 weeks. With my hair specifically, it became very dry at the ends, and then at the base of my head, it was like very, very greasy, which was very odd because I've never had oily hair. It also seemed like it stopped growing as fast, which was really alarming because usually I could cut my hair and then, 6-8 weeks later, it grows a good amount and I never thought about it. And I started to notice like, something's not right here. So that's how my hair was reacting with it. What we found in the water is they do chloramines, which is chlorine and ammonia mixed together. That chemical is pretty harsh, and I think that was one of the biggest culprits, but we had to dive into that more to figure out exactly what was in the water because it's not a talked about issue. My husband and I, Derek, the other owner, he has a background in construction. At the time, he was doing high-end kitchen and bath remodels, 100,000 plus projects for clients, building them these beautiful bathrooms, and then within 6 months, these bathrooms would just look awful. Their sink faucets were just completely caked, spots everywhere. The beautiful glass shower doors that they had were now completely spotted, getting etched, etc. So he had already started to look into the water. So once I presented my hair problem, I tasked him with the mission to handle the water because I wasn't going to continue to shower in that water. It actually got to a point where I was bringing about 4 water bottles in the shower and I would not let my hair touch the shower water, and I I would wash my hair with bottled water just to get some cleanliness to it. And it worked for a while, but how frustrating is it to have to bring water bottles to shower in your shower of water? It was awful. And then I have bottles everywhere, and then I'm buying water, and I'm like, this is crazy. So I tasked him with the mission of finding a solution. So he started looking into the industry, and this is where it got really interesting for me, because I am a consumer first. When I was looking into, water filtration products, a lot of what we were seeing is no one really told you what was in their systems. No one told you what they do, and no one told you if it actually worked. Derek started ordering parts and pieces. At one point, I think I had 3 different filters on my shower head, and it just looked insane. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I said, we need to look at a whole house solution, because I remember from when we were in construction, there are whole house water filters, but I thought they were $20,000, $30,000. And honestly, at that point, I was like, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure out how to pay $30,000 if I have to. But it was a very interesting field to step into, because it's like very secretive and it's very protected, and all the technology is very old, and it's from the early 70s, and everyone kind of has the same product, and you can't really tell what's going on. And that was kind of a red flag to me as a consumer, that I couldn't get a direct answer on, okay, good, I have this problem and I want to handle it, and is this going to work or not? And there was no guarantee. As a consumer, I did not proceed with any other filtration opportunities at that point, because it seemed like a waste of money. And with 3 kids and all the expenses that go along with that, and just running a household, that wasn't something I was willing to gamble on. So then also at the same time, I started researching the contaminants that were in the water, because as soon as I found out there was chlorine in the water, which is pretty typical, I think for the most part everyone knows that, I didn't know there was more. So we use a really amazing website called ewg.org, Environmental Working Group, and they're an amazing nonprofit company. They test tap water all over the country. I started looking at what was in the tap water, and it was extremely alarming. And you can get into conspiracies and, dive down the rabbit hole and things like that, but at the end of the day, it really just comes down to, we all know there's contaminants in the air, in the water, in the food. So we do the best that we can to counteract that. And once I found out that there was this amount of chemicals in the water, particularly in areas like Florida or Texas, there's a lot of arsenic. I'm sitting here washing my kid's organic apple, and then they're in the bathtub bathing in arsenic, because what a lot of people don't realize is that you absorb more when you're showering or taking a bath, and it's not about just drinking it. That was the thing that pushed it over the edge, was knowing that my kids were literally bathing in endocrine disruptors, in things that cause stomach problems, in things that can cause eczema, diarrhea, all of these things. There's a whole list of really scary things that it causes, and that I wasn't willing to bend on that. So then I told Derek, now I not only need you to make something that softens the water, but I also need you to figure out how to reduce the contaminants, because that's most important. Our system is very different from any other system, because it has so much more media inside. For example, another system, I won't say names, are only about 2 to 3 stages. Those 2 to 3 stages are going to break down in really bad water within a year. Industry standard says 2 to 3 years. I say a year. And that's just based off of what I've seen from what we've pulled out of customers' houses. But essentially, the contaminants and the chemicals in the water are going to break down that media very quickly. So it basically turns into sludge that's sitting in a tank, and then that washes through your home. So you're showering in all of those contaminants, whatever that may be. So you're paying a couple $1,000s for a system that is essentially going to work for approximately 12 to 18 months, and then you think it's functioning forever, and it's not. That's really a weak spot for the industry, is is to give something to people that's not going to work. Whereas our system, frankly, is over-designed. Business-wise, isn't always great for us because we don't have to maintain it every 12 to 18 months. We designed it for ourselves. So we wanted something that was going to last for as long as possible. So it does last about 12 to 15 years before the media inside breaks down. And in our system, we have 7 different stages. So each one of those stages is built not only to protect the media inside of the tank, it's also built to reduce the contaminants. So we have stages that protect the other stages that take out the contaminants, which is really, really important. So that system is doing so much work. It's protecting itself, it's reducing the contaminants, and it's softening the water. It's a perfect package, and it's the best thing for the consumer. It's the worst thing for us because we don't have to service it constantly and charge people just to come out and refresh the media, because that's what these systems do. But as far as a consumer, it's the best product on the market. When we were researching all of the different systems, and we're entrepreneurs at heart, so of course, if we find something we love, we also would like to sell it because that's just our mindset and that's where we come from. When we were researching all the different water companies, of course, first we went to the best. What do they have? What are they doing? And how does their process work? Anyone that's run a business knows, you need to do this kind of recon first. You need to learn the field. So we spent a lot of time learning the field before we actually went into it ourselves. What we found is that some people do rental systems. We were more interested in owning it, so you could take it with you if you move. Essentially, what these companies will do is they'll install, and then they'll come back, they'll have to service it. They come out a couple times a year, or they go away, and then you have a system that now doesn't function. And that's pretty typical in the water industry, I think, because the run-of-the-mill system is very easily obtained. You can basically go to Home Depot, throw it in the back of your truck, call it something else, and sell it to, Joe Smith down the road, which we didn't like at all. The way that we were raised is to produce quality and produce ethically. So those two things are always forefront in our mind for anything we're doing ever. And with these other water companies, we were seeing all of these little things that we didn't really agree with, we didn't really like, and especially as a consumer, it wasn't fair to them, and we wouldn't feel right selling it either. That kind of put us at a dead stop for a bit because we didn't know what to do. And we didn't realize yet that we could build our own. What really bothered me about the whole home systems is just their lack of efficiency and their lack of doing the things I wanted it to do. I wanted it to soften the water so I could have soft water. I wanted it to reduce the chemicals and contaminants as much as humanly possible. And I wanted it to last for a long time. I wanted to get my money's worth. That's really what it came down to as well, is I wanted to get my money's worth out of this product. So I didn't feel like anything on the market was a good fit because it didn't check all of those boxes for me. For the Clean Water Company, the goal that we have right now is, number one, to educate people, specifically homeowners. Our passion and where our heart is with families. So we want to educate people across America about their water and let them know that we have an amazing product that's going to solve so many issues for them that they don't even know about. For example, before I had a water system put in our house, I had no idea why my dishwasher kept breaking. In one house, in about 2 years, I went through 2 dishwashers. And then I was about to throw out my third one before I finally realized that it was the water, because it eats those components. Everything is plastic, and even the metal with the hard water, it eats those components in the washer and it just breaks it down and it stops cleaning, and it can't clean because the hard water cannot penetrate through the soap. I had no idea. The same thing with my laundry. Having 2 toddlers, you do a lot of laundry, especially in the morning after a nighttime. And I had no idea why I was throwing 2 Tide Pods in, putting it on sanitize. That's about a 2-hour, 50-minute cycle. and I would take out their sheets and their bedding, and it would still smell. And I didn't know why the clothes were fading even faster. That was really weird. That was another mystery that I hadn't solved. Like, why am I buying new clothes and then in a short amount of time they just look terrible? And all of those things I connected back to the water. And that was mind-blowing when I realized that families think about. It's just one of those little things that you have to handle on a day-to-day basis. And so to educate people on their water, what's in it, what is it doing to your home, what is it doing to your health, that's really a huge goal for us at Clean Water. Obviously, we want everyone to have clean water. It's something, that is a very fundamental part of life to have clean water, clean food. You want your home to be the safest place it can be, and that really starts at the water. That's our goal for the Clean Water Company, is just to educate everyone across America on the state of their water and how they can so easily solve it. We figured it all out. We did the legwork. We went through everything. We tried all the products. We looked at every company. We called the top water manufacturers in the country, and they couldn't solve it. And Derek did. So that's the beautiful thing about our product, is that, first we made it for us. Second, we want to give it to everyone, and that's our goal. In 10 years, I would like to see the company nationwide, of course. I would like to have it be a pillar of clean home products. I think that with our generation and the way that society is going, it's really about focusing on your home and your family, and you're being more cognizant about your life. So in 10 years, I would like us to be at the forefront of clean products and just the whole clean movement, really. I really want to explore more options as far as, air and solar and water and all of the elements. I think that's a really fun thing to look into and to be able to give back to people. So that's kind of a very loose goal for 10 years. A lot can happen in 10 years. The other goal that I would have is also to do work in other countries. We've already started doing work in Uganda, in small villages in Uganda, helping get clean water into their villages, help make them more self-sustaining, not just with their water, but also with food, learning how to plant crops, learning what grows, getting animals, cultivating an entire village, an entire ecosystem. So that's something that I definitely want to push clean water towards, spearheading as well, as just getting clean water into more places around the world. Hard water spots are probably the most annoying issue. What happens when hard water comes through your house is that rock, essentially, is hitting up against all these surfaces. So when you see the hard water spots on the glasses and the sink faucets and the doors and things like that, it's very much a nuisance. And you can watch TikTok videos or Pinterest and do the vinegar trick. And I've literally taken my shower doors off of my shower completely and laid them down flat on the ground and soaked them in vinegar for 48 hours, and it does absolutely nothing. It's just really a nuisance. If you have company over to your house and you offer them a glass of water or a glass of anything, and you give them a cup that looks like you haven't washed it ever, it's a bit embarrassing. On that superficial level, you're like, ugh, I look gross. This is terrible. I vividly remember one day I was so upset about all of my glasses, my drinking glasses, looking terrible. I filled up my sink with water. I think I put some concoction of something in it, probably vinegar, Dawn, who knows. I took all of my glasses out of the cupboard. I soaked them all for a whole day and scrubbed them, everything. And they still look terrible. As soon as you wash them again in the dishwasher, they look terrible again. So that was one experience that I had with hard water that was just annoying. It's just annoying. Hard water is annoying. I went to a friend's house and we were going to sell her a water system. This was after we had developed it and we were selling it. And she just moved into this beautiful home. I think it was a little over $700,000 home. Beautiful home. I asked if I could use her restroom. I go in the restroom. I go to wash my hands. I look at her sink and it looks terrible, absolutely terrible. Hard water spots all over it. Just gunk, the white, the film, everything. And I was like, oh my goodness. She just spent almost $1 million on this home. It doesn't look good. It's like an old motel on the side of a highway. You know, that's what the faucet looked like. It was so apparent. And that did it for me. I was, okay, good. I'm not leaving here without selling her a water system, because her house is literally getting destroyed as we speak. So that's it. So we were living in East Colorado Springs in this very nice house. And the only thing that I didn't like about this house was the shower glass doors looked terrible. It looked like water had been dripping down them for a decade. And the house wasn't that old. Again, not being educated, we didn't know anything about hard water. I looked up a Pinterest recipe on how to clean your shower glass doors, and we took them off, laid them on the floor, put paper under them or plastic or whatever it was, and we poured like this vinegar solution all over them, squeegeed them, scrubbed them, got special sponges, did this whole procedure, let them soak for 48 hours. I think it said only 24. We did 48, you know, because we just really wanted to make sure that it worked. It did nothing. It did nothing. The glass was so etched that nothing would touch it at all. So the only solution was to buy new shower glass doors, which, coming from construction, shower glass doors are anywhere from, I don't know, maybe $800 to $2,000, depending on if it's frameless or, you know, what kind of seam it has, or if the dimensions are unusual, anything like that. We were young at the time and we didn't want to spend that money, so etched shower glass doors it was. That's what we lived with. The skin issues with bad water, I'm not even going to call it hard water, because there's so much more to it than just hard water. It's bad water. Okay, that's hard water, that's the chemicals, together it makes bad water. So with my kids, obviously they have very sensitive skin because they're very young. Their skin was getting destroyed by the water. My son more so than my daughter, but he would get really big dry patches on his cheeks, his shoulders, the backs of his arms, tops of his arms. And they would just get these red, just inflamed, you know, almost like welts of dry skin. And I spent tons of money on all the best lotions and, you know, trying to do it before he goes to sleep at night so it could soak in or whatever. And I, at the time, didn't realize it was the water. Again, I thought it was the air. You know, oh, he's just dry. Or if we would come to Colorado to visit for Christmas, within 3 baths, he would be so dry, his skin would be broken and bleeding. So that was the skin issues with the kids that I saw the most. And then with myself, I started having a lot of scalp issues from the water, to so bad at one point I just had sores all on the bottom of my scalp from just the dry and the chemicals and everything else, and it just hurt. Like my skin hurt. Again, I didn't really realize that it was from the water, but after we got the water system in, all of these issues went away. You know, then I could use natural soap. That was a really upsetting thing for me, that I couldn't use organic soap, shampoo, kids wash. There's just so many chemicals in them. And when you have bad water, the natural stuff doesn't work. People say it doesn't work because it doesn't have all the additives that break through hard water. That's all it is. Tide is 90% inhibitors, corrosive, prohibiting agents, all of these things we can't say. It's only 10% soap, 10%. So what's the other 90% that you're putting in your body? Because it's going in your body. It's not going on your body. After we got the water system, we were able to use natural soap, and it would suds up, and it would work, and it would make the bubbles. My kids were very upset when the natural soap wouldn't make any bubbles. And I'm like, well, let's just use more and more and more and more, and nothing. There's no bubbles. So once you have water that's not hard, you get bubbles again, which is great for the kids. Before we got a water filtration system, we were not drinking the tap water. We were cooking with it. We were using the fridge filter. Fridge filters are inadequate, and they're a trick. They have very little media in them that maybe takes out some smell and maybe takes out some taste. That's it. It doesn't actually do anything. So we would use the fridge filter, and I knew that it wasn't doing much, but I felt like, well, it's better than nothing. I never spent money on a Brita filter, the pitchers. I never did that just because I didn't think that there was any logical way that that made sense, that something so small can handle the things in the water that it needed to. And that's why we did the big 5-gallon jugs in the water dispenser. That's how we handled that. We would drink the fridge filter water or bottled water, and we would not drink the tap water because people told us don't drink the tap water, which is also alarming. And we would cook with it on occasion when I didn't feel like walking around to the water dispenser and filling up my pot. When you have screaming kids and you're trying to make dinner, you're not really concerned about getting to clean water. You just need it. So that was my issue with using the tap water. The Denver community, I would say Denver, Commerce City, Parker, Thornton, Brighton, kind of all around there. The water is very, very toxic up there. And that's due to things that are leaching into the water system. Also improper handling of chemicals, improper handling of, fire retardant runoff, agricultural runoff, industrial. In Denver, there's also a military dump zone. They are supposed to dispose of these chemicals and contaminants a certain way. It doesn't always happen that way, and unfortunately, those end up in your water system. There's a lot going on up there. So it's important to have a filter that's going to filter all of those things out. Our system will reduce the levels of lead in the water as well. It handles a lot of heavy metals, so that would be included in that. In the Denver area, because of how the water has been treated for so long, there are very heavy amounts of PFOs and PFAs, those forever chemicals, the plastics, etc., that we're never going to get out of the water. It's permanently in the water system for pretty much the entirety of the US. They've done a lot of reports on that, and I don't exactly know if there's anywhere that's not affected. So unfortunately, that's a huge issue in Denver and surrounding areas. Our system does reduce the amount of everything in the water. If you couple that with the drinking system that we do, that will take out everything. It gives you a good pH level. It takes out almost everything in the water. We have an amazing product that we install on the drinking system called a remineralizer, and that puts the good minerals back in, because that's a big concern for a lot of people with drinking systems. They're concerned that it's going to take out all of the nutrients you need in the water. So we have a solution to put it back in, which is great because you do need those things. And, unfortunately, we don't get it from the soil and things like that like we used to. So this is a good way to do that as well. But with those forever chemicals, that's definitely something that needs to be researched more and research the effects of what it's going to create long term. But for now, we at least have the solution of, okay, let's reduce it as much as possible so we can be as safe as possible until they figure it out. So that's what we do.